Greetings, YouTube. I don't remember what I was looking at the other day. I think I might have just been scanning some Pathfinder rules for an idea that was kicking around in my head. When I came upon an entry that was talking about a magic item. I don't even remember what the magic item was. It might have been a belt. And how for the belt to function on the person, you have to wear it for 20 consecutive hours, 24 consecutive hours. And then from that point forward, you have to always wear it. And if you take it off, the magic ceases operating for you until you essentially wear it for another 24 consecutive hours. And I can understand mechanically why you do that, because you want to impress upon the player that that item is incredibly important to them, and if they don't keep it with them constantly, that they're not going to be able to use the magic. But I've been bugged by that kind of a rule for a very long time, because we've had the you must wear these items constantly for them to be effective on you for decades. I mean, this is not a new concept to Pathfinder or 3.5 or anything like that. That school of philosophy when it came to magic items has been around for a very long time. And the problem is, to me, is that the people that wrote those rules, much like the people that wrote rules about sword weights and encumbrance, have never actually engaged in having to wear something for 24 hours straight every single day for the rest of your life. There are people in the world that have to do that. There are people who have items that they must keep on their person every second of every day or they die. And they'll explain to you what kind of a burden that is. Being required to have something on your person forever or you're going to die is a major burden. And being told that you have to have an item on you all that time or you'll lose the effect of it, that could very well be what's keeping your character going, which is giving your character the edge, which is keeping them, on this side of the dirt nap, is burdensome. It's also not real practical. I want you to think about this for a second. I want you to stop right now. Take an assessment of what you're wearing, everything you're wearing. How many of those things that you currently have on have you been wearing for 24 hours straight? And how many of those things have you not ever removed from the moment you put them on? I think you're going to quickly realize that the answer to that question is zero. Now, some people might say, well, magic items give you this major bonus, so of course it should be burdensome. And it should be a major decision for your character to take them off. And I guess that might fall into the category of I can kind of understand that from a mechanical game rules system perspective, but I can't understand that from this is supposed to be a flesh and blood individual. Because there are items I have on my person right now that have not come off in a very long time. My earrings, for example, which you probably barely can see. I've had those in my ears for decades now. I can't remember the last time I removed those earrings. I wash them every time I take a shower, but I can't remember the last time I took off these earrings. It's been a very long time. But the number of times I have not removed them is not zero. I have removed them since they were put on. But they're probably the item that I have removed the least that I'm currently wearing, my bracelet. I don't take my bracelet off, except when I have to. When I wear a brace on this arm, I can't wear the bracelet, so the bracelet goes on this wrist. And while it stays on my person, it does in fact come off my wrist. But my glasses come off, my clothes come off. I don't wear a belt when I'm sitting here at my chair in my comfies. And as soon as I get in the door, if I know I'm not going back out that door, I get in my comfies. I put on a sweatshirt. I put on sweatpants. I slip my slippers on. I get comfortable. And I can't imagine that players don't do the same thing. A character is not just a bunch of stats on a page. It's supposed to be a living, breathing thing. And no one is going to wear a magic belt all the time. And I think it is absurd to think that just because you are a character in a fantasy game, even a high fantasy game, you're not going to be wearing that constantly. Even in games where, even in properties where like a cartoon where the character only gets one outfit, sometimes they aren't even in that outfit all the time. They change up sometimes because the storyline requires them to. Even, Shaggy and the mystery crew that change their outfits once in a while, even though they normally had a very set appearance. I think a much better way of looking at these kind of magic items is that the attunement model, which I believe it's being used in 5th edition. I can't remember. Is Pathfinder 2nd edition using attunement for magic items? I think it might be. It seems to be in the air at the moment, and I kind of like the attunement idea. Um, that you have to attune your body to a magic item before the magic item will work for you, and then you have a limited number of magic items you can possess. Now, the number of magic items has changed over the years. I think they hit a peak in Pathfinder 1st edition. I think that had 14 slots, and they've reduced that for Pathfinder 2nd edition, and for 5th edition, there are fewer slots in 5th edition than there were in 3.5. And you have to attune an item to get it to work. Some items don't have to be attuned, scrolls, potions, things like that. But some things do, like magic rings, for example. Though these aren't magic, although they are kind of magic. They're wedding rings, both of them. But having to attune to something for that magic item then to work for you is cool. But you see, this is a wedding ring. Now, I'm not just taking this off to show you something. I take this off every day. I take it off because I twiddle. I take it off my finger, I rotate it 180 degrees, I put it back on, and then I do the same with my other hand. Why? I think it's an outgrowth of my ADHD. But I take it off every time I get in my shop. I take it off every time I do dishes or I take a shower. I take them off every time I go to work. So as soon as I walk in the door at work, these rings come off, and they don't go back on my hands until I walk out that door. And even if that wasn't a rule, I wouldn't wear rings at work because, I'm really fond of my figures and I would like all of them to stay exactly where they are. So the idea that someone is going to have something on them forever is absurd. So rather than that, why don't we take the philosophy that for the first 24 hours, you have to wear it continuously. That is the burden of attuning the item. But once you have done that, you can take the item on and off, on and off. And as so long as you are wearing it, it works for you. And it's attuned to you until someone else wears it for 24 consecutive hours, barring whatever limitations the magic item might have. Say, for example, it might only work for dwarves, or if an evil person puts it on, it'll burn their flesh and they'll scream dying, that kind of stuff. But I think that's a better model, and it's more realistic because you have to wear this thing around for 24 consecutive hours, and your friends might go, dude, why are you wearing that? We're inside. There's no reason to be wearing that magic helmet while you're inside the building, is there? And you have to explain that you have to do it, for 24 straight hours. And before you can actually then have it available to you when you need it and want it. So in the context of the world, it seems organic. You are attuning your body, you get the thing, and now it's yours. Now, most people probably don't do that, but I am a person that does attune things. When I get a new toy, most often a blade or something, I play with it constantly until there's a certain point where it becomes mine. And because I'm an animist, until I impress myself upon it. And while it's not continuous 24 hours, it's what I'm doing. I'm attuning myself to the item, whether it's a knife, in this case a utility knife. Klein Tools makes a really nice utility knife. Or anything else. It's now mine. And I will return to that item repeatedly. And no one else is in tune to it since then. So when I pick this thing up, even though I haven't touched this in a couple of days, it's still mine. I've held this for a very long time. I play with it. I just, it's my thing. So I very much, on a philosophical and on a religious level, understand the concept of imprinting yourself or attuning yourself to a thing. So I like that mechanic. I just think the idea that you're supposed to wear a magic belt every single second for the rest of your life is kind of impractical in the real world if you have to take a bath or you want to go to sleep.